go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. I'm Chris Kane. I'm CPWR's Executive Director, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar on CPWR's Foundations for Safety Leadership for Residential Construction, or we call it FSL for Res, training program. We'll be hearing about how the popular Foundations for Safety Leadership program was adapted to meet the unique safety issues of the residential construction sector. And now I'm excited to introduce our panelists. We have Dr. Brad Evanoff, Chief of the Division of General Medical Sciences in the Department of Internal Medicine at Washington University in St. Louis, and Anna Kinghorn, Clinical Research Coordinator, also with the Division of General Medical Sciences in the Department of Internal Medicine at Washington University in St. Louis. We're expecting a third presenter, and if he joins us, that would be Jeremy Bethencourt with LeBlanc Building. But until he gets here, thank you for joining us, and I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Brad, to get us started. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. And thank you for the people in the audience who've joined us today. And we're going to talk today about foundations for safety leadership in residential construction, which is a project funded by CPWR to do an adaptation of the existing Foundations for Safety Leadership course. And as Chris said, we're in the Healthy Work Center at Washington University in St. Louis. So our group has been working on safety and health in construction for about 20 years across a wide variety of health and safety issues, including fall prevention, ergonomics, musculoskeletal, safety management, and substance use and mental health. So when we were doing fall prevention work earlier, we noticed that people can know the rules, and in particular, foremen often know the rules and know the safe practices for falls quite well, but they're not always effective at leading their teams and communicating to their teams the reasons why fall prevention is important, and it's difficult to get them to, their crews is difficult for them to get their crews to perform fall prevention consistently. So next, please. So we had done some projects earlier looking at teaching both communication skills as well as fall safety skills to foremen. And we found that if you train the foremen in better communication skills, their crews did a lot better. So we looked at the safety performance of the crews before and after the training, and you teach the foremen how to communicate, and their crews eventually do better. And so then CPWR had taken on a project as well, looking at all the benefits of effective safety leadership. So in addition to improving safety, improving the safety leadership of the foreman or other frontline supervisors increases morale, it promotes better teamwork, it leads to a positive safety climate, reduced hazards, and safer work practices. So in addition to these benefits on safety, including fewer injuries and fatalities, better safety leadership also translates to better leadership in general on the job, for better business reputation, more productivity, better quality work, and importantly for the current climate, better worker retention. So we knew that this was important, but we didn't have a way to scale up the early work that we had done. CPWR then started the Foundations for Safety Leadership course in 2016. So this was a 2.5 to 3 hour training that teaches 6 essential safety leadership skills. And it uses video and then in-person discussion to get foremen to understand how to apply safety leadership. There's a wide variety of materials available, including trainer's guides, slides, handouts, laminated wallet cards, a lot of training aids to help foremen and other frontline supervisors to effectively lead their crews. So this was approved as an OSHA 30 elective in 2017 and has been widely disseminated. So as of, I think, 2 years ago, there were over 100,000 people who had been trained in the Foundations for Safety Leadership and the numbers have just gone up since then. So this was a great way to disseminate widely this training, which has become quite popular. So residential construction posed some challenges for the widespread adoption of the FSL. So we know that residential construction is different than commercial construction. The contractors are smaller, they have fewer resources. Fewer foremen in residential are trained via the OSHA 30 course. So this way that was great at disseminating it to larger employers was not as effective at reaching the smaller employers in particular. Residential workers are harder to reach than commercial. And they're also, though, the highest risk part of the industry for falls. So we felt that the FSL could be highly effective in this high risk sector of the construction population. And we then set out to adapt the FSL for better reach within the residential sector, and also included a focus on preventing falls, which is the most common source of mortality in residential. So our training safety vignettes all focused around fall risk. Next, please. So importance for construction here is that the major cause of work fatalities is falls. Fall prevention can be difficult to implement consistently, and foremen and other frontline supervisors, although they may have the skills, often lack skills to do technical solutions. They often lack the skills to effectively lead their teams into safer behaviors. Recall asking a foreman some years ago how they communicated things to their crews, when they really wanted to get a point across. And they said they talk louder and used a lot more adjectives. And I think we've all seen that type of communication on the construction side. It can be effective at times, but giving leaders better tools to communicate and to lead effectively is important for improving safety performance. So we conducted a needs assessment, talking to content matter experts from around the country. And their opinion was that FSL was a great training tool, but it would work even better with some adaptation to the needs of the residential sector. There was preference for delivery options, including multiple shorter sessions rather than one long session, and the ability to use YouTube videos rather than PowerPoint for ease of use on training at the worksite. We also heard that it was important to show women and people of color in some of the scenarios. So we developed some specific scenarios for residential construction, and then some modifications to the delivery so that it could be more easily presented outside of a classroom setting. Next, please. So if Jeremy had been able to make it today, he would have told you a bit about his experiences in using the original FSL and some of the issues that he had run into when trying to use it on workplaces, actually out in the field. So he was one of our advisors who helped us with the adaptation and really helped us achieve a program that can be done in smaller bits and that's easier to do outside of a classroom setting. So at this point, I'll hand it over to Anna, who will walk you through what the adapted FSL for residential construction looks like.
Thanks, Brad. I'm Anna Kinghorn. I'm going to be walking you through what the FSL for us looks like. I'm going to show you the different aspects of running through a scenario and then take you through it as if you were in the training. We will watch 3 videos, and after each will be a short discussion that will be participating in either through poll or chat. So please put your responses to each of the questions after the discussion questions I pose into the proper space. So the learning objectives for the FSL for Res are for the trainees to be able to explain why safety leadership is important, describe the critical safety leadership skills, and then be able to discuss how an effective leader can apply them on the job site. The FSL for Res course focuses on critical skills that you use as a safety leader to create strong job site safety climate and reduce safety incidents. The 6 skills that are in this course are lead by example. So making sure you walk the talk, showing that safety is a core value, make sure everyone owns safety. We have engage and empower team members to identify, report, and remove hazards and to come up with solutions. We have actively listen so that you're hearing what the person is saying and understanding what crew members are trying to tell you. Practicing three-way communication, making sure crew members understand what is being said or asked. Developing team members by coaching, teaching, and positive feedback. Constructive feedback using the FIST principle. And then recognizing team members for a job well done, either in public or private, wherever the employee is comfortable, making sure that you're recognizing them for their hard work. This is a course that's meant to be adaptable. So there's two different learning styles. And teaching mode. So there is watch, which you watch 3 animated video sections plus discussion questions. And then there's the read teaching mode, which has a script with key points from the full scenario. And then you have your discussion questions at the end of each of those. The scenarios are set up to have a short situation, which sets the scene and the safety issue. And then you have outcome A, where the characters do not employ FSL for res training, and outcome B, where they use the safety leadership skills. So today I'm going to walk you through our scenario called reality check. The primary safety leadership moment is what can happen when productivity is put over safety. This scenario shows the residential work site. You'll see a 2-story single-family home in a residential neighborhood. The roof of the home is being shingled, and 5-star roofing is on site to complete the work. Remember that these scenarios are meant to illustrate key safety leadership skills, so focus on how a safety leader would communicate the needs of the task while prioritizing safety. This scenario is designed to illustrate the following safety leadership skills of leading by example, actively listening, developing team members, 3-way communication, and recognizing team members.
As Eduardo, an experienced roofer, arrives at the worksite, he sees trainees Troy and Tara start to climb onto the roof to begin their work. Eduardo asks if they've secured the ladder and inspected all of the fall protection harnesses, anchor points, and lines they'll be using. Troy snaps back, saying they just put the ladder up and the rest of the equipment was checked yesterday. Tara chimes in, saying she's sure it's all fine.
Okay. So, keeping in mind the leadership skills, what can Eduardo do to demonstrate safety leadership? So you may have seen the poll pop up. You can click one of the answer options. So walk the talk. Encourage the workers to come up with solutions to ensure everyone is safe and productive. Listen to understand what the crew members are saying. Be curious about why they don't want to stop and check the equipment now. Or assume the workers have safety in mind and know what they're talking about. So it looks like we have a almost even split, although walking the talk is leading the way. Lead by example by checking the equipment. Followed closely by listening to understand what the crew members are saying. Be curious about why they don't want to stop to check the equipment now. I think those are both great, great responses. And then what are your thoughts on Troy and Tara's responses to Eduardo? So this is your second question. Do you think this is a typical response of a crew? Do you think they may show some new employee? This may show some new employee training issues, or do you think that their responses to Eduardo were respectful and thoughtful? May show some new employee training issues is the leader there. So if you were taking the FSL for Res, you would walk through this with the trainees, and Brad made a comment that all of the options are right, except for assuming the workers have safety in mind and know what they're talking about. Trying to use these skills of walking the talk, encourage them to come up with solutions, listen to understand, are all appropriate, next steps that he could take. And I agree that it may show some new employee training issues, that they aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not following through on what he's asked them to do. So those might be some issues to consider, and situations that you come across in real time. So having these leadership skills could help you respond to those types of concerns on the site. So now I'm going to take you through outcome A.
Eduardo shrugs. The job has a short timeline, and yesterday's check is probably okay. He tells Troy and Tara to get up on the roof and get started. Troy reaches the roof and connects his harness to the roof anchor line. As he walks across the roof to retrieve some shingles, he stumbles, but catches himself before falling. Relieved that he is okay after this close call, Troy inspects the anchor line and notices a section that is badly frayed. He realizes that if he had fallen, the anchor line might have snapped and he could have been seriously injured.
Okay. So first, what are your thoughts on how Eduardo handled this situation? Do you think he deserves a raise, A+? Do you think he could have done better, or that, really negatively, I would not want him in charge of my crew? Couple of responses coming in where you wouldn't want him in charge of your crew. Could have done better. So he just kind of shrugged and didn't really employ any leadership skills. He let them do whatever they thought was important to them. Didn't really take a stand for leadership or show what safety was, didn't own safety. He showed minimal level of leadership. And then instead of actively listening to what they were talking about, and the way that they said it, he simply went along with their plea not to have to go onto the roof and check it. Which safety leadership skills did he or did he not demonstrate? So we have lead by example and engage and empower team members, actively listen, practice three-way communication, develop team members, or recognize team members for a job well done, or none. So it looks like the majority say that he didn't employ any leadership skills. So I'm going to go ahead and show you, last one. What message is Eduardo sending to Troy and Tara about the value of safety? That it's very important, or that productivity is more important? And the majority is answering that productivity is more important. He doesn't want to rock the boat. He wants everything to get done. So he's not going to have them stop and redo or check. So here is going to be outcome B.
Troy and Tara's reaction makes Eduardo wonder if they actually know how to inspect the fall protection equipment. Or worse, Maybe they think it's okay to cut corners. Troy and Tara's reaction makes Eduardo wonder if they actually know how to inspect the fall protection equipment. Or worse, maybe they think it's okay to cut corners. He tells them that even though they checked the harnesses, anchor points, and lines the day before, their company requires them to be checked every day, since their fall protection equipment is what keeps them from being injured. Eduardo tells Foster, the foreman, his concerns and suggests it might be a good time to have a huddle to discuss procedures and expectations. Foster agrees, calls the crew together, and asks them to bring their fall protection equipment with them. He asks Tara and Troy to explain the process for checking the harnesses, anchor points, and lines. After a minute or so, Troy admits that they're not 100% sure what to look for because they've always trusted others to check. Rather than being angry, Foster thanks him for being honest and then carefully goes over the OSHA rules and manufacturer's recommendations for checking equipment. When he's done, he asks Troy and Tara to take turns repeating the rules and demonstrating how to inspect everything. While doing his checks, Troy finds that part of his anchor line is frayed and shows everyone. As a group, they discuss why this is dangerous and how it reinforces why all equipment must be inspected daily. Foster then watches Troy inspect a new anchor line and properly connect it. Foster tells them again how much he appreciates their good work and for admitting when they didn't know how to do something, particularly when it could have such serious safety consequences. Then Tara surprises Foster by thanking him for recognizing their value as team members and for saying so.
Okay. So what do you think of the way Eduardo handled the situation this time? Much improved, used appropriate leadership skills, not bad, but still could have done better, and or still would not want him on your crew. It's like everyone so far is choosing A, much improved, used appropriate leadership skills. And then our second question is, which of the leadership skills did he demonstrate? Again, that's lead by example, engage and empower, actively listen, practice three-way communication, develop team members, or recognize team members. Lots of answers for that. So, because he did employ multiple throughout the scenario, right? So he first actively listened to how Troy and Tara responded and sensed they might not actually know how to check the rigging. Then, rather by demanding they check it themselves, he led by example by talking to the foreman and offered to go check it with them. He was able to develop the workers by using his teaching and coaching skills, using his three-way communication skills by asking them to reiterate what he had told them. And lastly, he demonstrated his ability to give positive feedback by telling them how glad he was that they admitted to not knowing about the fall protection and recognized them for being good team members and valued workers. So FSL for Res is a dynamic training tool. There's two different methods of delivery. So you could either employ it in a single session, which is 2.5-hour training, or a multiple session, which is 4 30-minute training sessions plus 1 15-minute booster. It's created for ease of use on site. So Brad mentioned earlier, our videos are on YouTube, and you don't need a full training center or office with a projector in order to engage with the training. You're able to pull up the videos and use them as toolbox talks or discussion tools. There's the different ways to engage with it. So there's watching like we just did, or you can do the read teaching mode, which has the key points from each scenario, or you can create your own scenarios. So there's worksheets that if you had a situation on site and wanted to make it into a learning opportunity, you can use these sheets to create your own scenario and use it in the training. There's many resources that are available in addition to the PowerPoint slides and the instructor guide. There's some handouts, pocket reference cards, hard hat stickers, exercises, create your own scenario worksheets, FSL handbook, toolbox talks, and Spanish translation. This is what the self-assessment looks like on the 6 leadership skills, where you can evaluate your own behaviors and attitudes towards these different skills and kind of see where you need movement forward or to focus on improving. And then again, we have the Spanish translation materials. Everything that is written is ready to go. The only thing that we're waiting on within the next week or two is the Spanish subtitles for the videos. So all of these materials can be found for free on the CPWR website. And at this point, we are trying to disseminate and measure how far and wide this is spreading and how people's experiences are using the training. So we'd like to send some follow-up emails with short, 5-question surveys to just determine who's using it and what their experience has been like so far with the FSL for Res training. Brad, any closing remarks?
No, I'd say thank you for your time. We showed you a little bit of the scenarios, and as I said in the chat, this would be preceded by walking through the leadership skills and spending some time talking about why safety leadership is important, and then in either all in one session or in different shorter sessions over time. Each session would go through one of the videos, and there'd be then a group discussion about how the supervisor could have done a better job, all structured around sort of the not so good job first with the bad outcome, and the better job at the end with a good outcome for safety leadership. As Anna said, these materials are all free, available online now, and we hope that you will take a look at them and use them. So with that, we'd be delighted to take questions on the program and its use, and hear your thoughts on it.
Chris, I don't know if you're talking, but if you are, you're on mute. I did see we got a question and some discussion in the chat, but the question was about whether the FSL could also be used in an OSHA 10-hour course in addition to the OSHA 30-hour.
Yeah, we are working on trying to get it approved as an elective, and that was one suggestion. This process takes a while, but having it in OSHA 10 would be, I think, very helpful at getting it disseminated more widely.
And I'm sorry, I just in real time got a call from one of my children's principals, so I had to take it. Sorry about that. So I did see the 10-hour discussion. It was actually it was pretty interesting to see folks going back and forth in the chat. And I looked up the guidelines while this was happening, and right now there's really not room for it in a 10-hour because there's 6 mandatory topics. 2 hours have to be from a selected group of electives, and so that leaves 2 hours of leeway, and it's at the current time it's not approved as an elective in the OSHA 10. It is approved as an elective in the OSHA 30. But definitely the idea of using elements of this training program in OSHA 10 is possible if you're conveying other information. So you can kind of sneak some of the better communications and the lessons of the FSL into an OSHA 10 very easily, but to teach it in its entirety is not really tenable at this point, according to the current rules and just the physics of time. So with that, I don't know if that kind of goes through that answer sufficiently. So the other question that I had seen come in is similar to like, how can you use it? Who can use it? Who's allowed to use it to teach workers about the principles in FSL?
Sorry, who's allowed to do the training?
Yeah, who can use the materials?
Yeah, I think anybody can use the materials. We designed it to be delivered by a safety trainer, but I think that I think it's, you know, anyone who's comfortable with teaching or training could definitely train this. I think one of the advantages of having safety trainers do it instead of someone from HR is I think that people pay more attention to safety training than they do to anything that HR says. And if it's done through sort of normal safety channels, it becomes more of a thing that has to do with our regular workplace activities rather than like some other training that's off there that, you know, doesn't really matter to what we do at work. In theory, it could be done by pretty much anyone who's comfortable delivering training. I think in practice, making it more explicitly tied to safety is probably more effective.
Do you think it could be used in smaller segments to maybe go through one scenario as a toolbox talk or something like that with a crew?
Yeah. So we've laid out a recommended plan that's 5 30-minute trainings in the materials that we've put up online. It could be done. It'd be hard to do meaningful training in 5 to 10 minutes, but it could potentially be done in shorter segments than that. But it works very well in half-hour segments spread out over time.
Very good. One of the questions that came in earlier, and I think you addressed it, but the Spanish version, what's the story on that again?
The Spanish version, all of the text is available in Spanish. We're just waiting on the translation to come back for the videos. So the videos will be ready within the next week or two.
Great. And is the Spanish text posted yet on the website?
No, that should be done. I'm going to speak for Bill, and I'm hoping it's done by the end of the week. We were waiting for the videos to kind of all have it go together. So
okay, great.
It's all ready. It just needs to be plopped up.
All right, cool. There was one other question I saw about hard hat stickers. I don't know if Jess, you have any information on that?
So if they're asking, it looks like somebody said something about OSHA hard hat stickers, and I'm not sure if those are related to falls. We do send out hard hat stickers for the falls stand down, but for the FSL, there are a hard hat sticker, like there's a hard hat sticker artwork that can just be taken to any local printer, and that's in the materials online, but I can also put a link to that in the chat.
Great. All right, I think just I'm sorry, please continue.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, unless Brad or Anna know differently, I don't think we have any actual stock of the stickers.
No.
Right, so they would need to be printed from the artwork we have online. All right, well, with that, that's the end of the questions. Jess, unless I missed some. I'm looking in Q&A. There's one question, but it's more of a technical safety question. So it's not really pertinent to the training program. Well, with that, I think we can go ahead and wrap up this webinar. I wanted to thank you, Brad and Anna, for joining us and presenting on FSL for Res. We hope folks online go download it and use it in the best way possible, and feedback is more than welcome on the program. And Jessica, thank you for hosting, and I hope everyone has a good rest of their afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.